Have you ever thought about the walls you can't see? The ones that frame your understanding of the world? Plato offers us an allegory, a cave. And in its shadows, perhaps, lies the story of your life. But what happens if you turn toward the light? Imagine a world where the only reality you've ever known is a dance of shadows cast on a cold stone wall. You watch these shapes. You name them. You believe them. This is the premise of Plato's allegory of the cave, a story of prisoners, shadows, light, and freedom. It's ancient in origin, but as we wade through a maze of social media filters, misinformation, and echo chambers, isn't it still painfully modern? Let's step closer to the flicker of Plato's fire and maybe find the tools to ignite our own. Picture this: a dark cave, a line of prisoners chained so tightly they cannot turn their heads. Their whole world is a wall upon which shadows flicker, the only truth they've ever known. Beyond their sight, a fire burns, and puppeteers move objects, casting these shadows. One day, one prisoner is freed. At first, the light blinds him, and the truth terrifies him. But slowly, vision sharpens. He sees the puppet, then the fire. And finally, outside the cave, he discovers the world in all its radiant complexity. This, Plato tells us, is the journey of enlightenment, a path from ignorance to knowledge, from illusion to truth. The shadows on the wall, are these not the carefully curated images before us on our glowing screens? Instagram feeds, clickbait headlines, virtual lives that shimmer like the shadows in Plato's cave. And us, the observers, are we not often just as chained? Chained by bias, by comfort, by a reluctance to challenge what we think we know. Imagine for a moment that the chain snapped. Someone pulled you upward and the world became too clearly bright. You'd resist, wouldn't you? You'd think of returning to the familiar haze, however false. But in this unsettling sharpness, truth begins. Uncomfortable, but necessary, because who are we, if not wanderers seeking clarity in a forest of illusions? Now consider your own life. The algorithms that decide what news you read, the curated lives you scroll through, the small circles we craft to echo our beliefs, are these not caverns of modern design? Social media can be a brilliant tool, but it also builds walls around us, shaping our perceptions of reality to fit our preferences. And isn't it easier to believe in the shadows we're shown than to question what flickers behind them? But the allegory also equips us, not with answers, but with the courage to ask. It dares us to loosen the binds, to seek diverse perspectives, to step into that brilliant, uncomfortable light of discovery. Now take a moment to pause. Can you recall a time when you thought you understood the world, your beliefs, a relationship, the way things worked, only to realize later how limited that view had been? How did that realization feel? Perhaps it was bright, blinding, or just plain disorienting. Write it down if you can. Explore it. Ask yourself, how often do I examine the shadows in my life? What are the chains that hold me there? Plato's cave is not merely an ancient fable. It is a mirror held up to our times. The world outside the cave may be difficult to face, yet it holds a clarity worth the discomfort. So, I ask, will you turn toward the faintest glimmer of light, even if it blinds you? Remember, the journey toward truth is not easy, but it's where true freedom lives. Until next time, fellow wanderer, may your steps lead you from shadow to light, always